The I-5 is the major freeway that runs all the way from Mexico to Canada through California, Oregon, and Washington. Like many people, I've driven portions of this road many times without stopping, but on a recent trip I decided to spend 3 days seeing many of the best spots along the route. My dad and I traveled from Portland back to Los Angeles, and here's the 3 days we spent on Interstate 5. Also, we shot this video in December, and so that's why you see a lot of Christmas decor. Let's jump into it and let me know what I left off in the comments. Hey guys, I'm here with Pops. We were up in Portland area for my graduation, dropped the family off for a nice 2-hour flight back home, and we're taking 2.5 days to road trip all the way back to the LA area and show you road trip stops along the way. Let's do it. It is a cold December morning in Portland. There's even snow on the ground, but we are going to Pip's Original Donuts and Chai before we start our road trip. I mean, if you've been watching my videos, you can't be surprised we started with a donut shop, right? There's usually a crazy line on a Sunday at this place, but I think the cold is keeping people away, which benefits us. Pip's has been a Portland staple since they opened in 2013. I can't even tell you how many times I've been here, but every time I go, I'm blown away by the chai and the donuts. They usually have a half dozen donut flavors to choose from and 4 or 5 different chais. So we got a dozen donuts. What are you showing us what we got?
Yeah.
I think this is bacon, apple, Nutella, honey, sea salt. This is all 3, and then that's cinnamon and sugar. So no indoor seating. What are you going with, Pops? What are you starting with that?
Gotta go with the bacon. That's very, very nice. Good bacon, sweet, crunchy donut. Very nice.
Starting our trip healthy for all you YouTube commenters. If you go in the dining room's open, which it currently isn't, you can actually get a flight of their chais, so you can try each one of them. We did this a couple years ago and it was definitely fun. So if you go when it's open, do that. But if not, you can still pick a chai to take with you.
The donuts are so crispy, it's really, really nice. You get a little crunch as you're chewing them.
They're very labor intensive too. You have to make each one of these individually for the order. Plus people are waiting outside before they even open, so it's fun. On to the next spot. From here we actually headed out of Portland, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about Mt Falls. This is easily one of the best waterfalls you'll see in the United States, and it's only about 30 minutes east of Pip's if you want to see it. For us, it was a 45-minute drive south to our next destination, which was the city of Salem. If you were looking for things to do in Portland, I do have a video on my channel that I made a few years ago about the city. It's definitely changed a lot since then, but it's still a good introduction to Portland. Also note that this entire first day is in the rain, so the views aren't as nice as they normally would be. When we arrived in Salem, I went directly to downtown and took my dad to Archive Coffee Bar. This is easily my favorite place in the city of Salem, as they make some of the most unique lattes I've ever seen. I go every time I'm in the area and I always try something new. We're not doing too much today in Salem because I actually spent 3 days here on the way up, so I'll have a video on Salem you can watch right here. It's a cool town, but Archive Coffee is amazing. The state capitol is amazing. Definitely stop if you're heading down Highway 5. Salem is the capital of Oregon, and you should go by the state capitol while you're there. If you drive through on a weekday, then it should be open for you to go inside and see the murals and to walk around the different state buildings. Also in the spring, the cherry blossoms are in bloom, and I hear it's an amazing place to be then. Not the best day for a Highway 5 road trip, but we are making the most of it. This place is only open in the summer, but I heard it's amazing, especially for families, so check it out if you get a chance. Let me know how it is in the comments. From Salem, it was about an hour drive south to the next major city, which was Eugene, Oregon. Our first stop in Eugene was to head up to the Skinner Butte Lookout. Every road trip needs a Pops that will hold the umbrella while you film.
Yeah.
Oh, what the heck? It's obviously not a great day, but this is a little hiking trail in the city that takes you up to this viewpoint. Some hiking trails over there, and then the actual river is right there. Eugene Skinner, that the city is named after, right there. And this is where we're at, next to the Willamette River. And the original big O for the University of Oregon, right here in the photo, and we're gonna look at that. It's over there somewhere. On a sunny day, Skinner Butte is a great lookout point in the city. It sits at about 682 feet. The massive O for the University of Oregon was installed in the 1920s, and it can be seen from all over the city of Eugene. It's a quick walk down to the O from the parking area if you're interested in seeing it. Cool little stop. I wish the weather was better, but nice viewpoint, especially being able to see the O for the University of Oregon is pretty cool as well. As you're driving off the butte, be sure to stop and see the climbing columns. These were exposed by mining operations in the 1900s, and they reminded me a lot of the ones you could see in Devil's Postpile in California. They became popular in the 1940s for climbing, and they're still used for climbing to this day. Nobody was climbing when we were there, though. Made it to downtown Eugene, to one of the top places for lunch in the city, the Fisherman's Market. Fisherman's Market is a local favorite in Eugene. It's owned and operated by a commercial fisherman who brings in fresh fish all of the time to stock the market and the restaurant. They call themselves a boat-to-table meal experience, and I have to agree with it after eating there. There was a long line at lunchtime, tons of Dungeness crab in the tanks as you waited, and great seafood. We ordered the clam chowder, the fish and chips, and the crab cake sandwich. Plus, they have some great dipping sauces for their fries, and this spot was featured on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Overall, I'd say that was a pretty good spot in Eugene. Definitely not bad for a road trip lunch if you like seafood. Be sure you don't leave Eugene without visiting 5th Street Public Market. This collection of restaurants, coffee shops, artist galleries, and even an inn has been here for decades and continues to change and be revitalized. If you don't want to do the Fisherman's Market, this is a great place to have lunch and even shop a little bit while you're in Eugene. We went during the Christmas season, and it was beautiful to see how the entire area was decorated. The only thing we did there was stop by the coffee shop to grab some coffee for the road.
Between masks and cold.
Magpie Coffee House even had a fun little area where if you wrote a postcard and put it in the mailbox, they would actually send it for you. We got ourselves some coffee, wrote letters to my grandma and his mom. Now we're heading on. As you leave Eugene, be sure to set aside time to head east to the nearby city of Springfield, especially if you're a Simpsons fan. Springfield, Oregon is actually where The Simpsons was based on, so in Springfield they have a few murals and a little downtown tour you can kind of take to see some of the sights. In 2010 is when he said that this is the actual Springfield, since there's a Springfield in basically every state in the United States. So that put this Springfield on the map for Simpsons fans at least. There's a photo from when they dedicated the mural. If you come to this mural and you want to see more, there's one back there, and then there's a few on the other side of here too. For Simpsons fans, this is just a cool spot to visit. To see all the murals around the town, learn more about the town's history and how it connects with The Simpsons, overall just a fun little stop. There's even a signed Simpsons plaque in the mayor's office you can see, and if you go to their website, there's an unofficial Simpsons tour that you can take around to different spots in the city. We didn't go to any of the other spots on this road trip, but I'd love to come back and explore a little more. Near the Simpsons mural, there's also a mural for Ken Kesey, who was a longtime resident of Springfield and who wrote the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Saying goodbye to Eugene and Springfield, we headed 2 hours down the road to the city of Grants Pass. Along the way, it was more of the same for us, dreary mountain roads that would have been beautiful if the weather was clear. 2 hours of driving in the rain later, we have made it to Grants Pass and the Oregon Caveman. This is the domain of the Oregon Cavemen since 1922. You can see how big that caveman is with my 6'7" dad right there behind it. I think it's pretty big. The Caveman Club began in the 1920s when a group of local businessmen got together to promote the Oregon Caves National Monument, which had just opened. The 16-foot caveman was created in 1971 by the company who made the famous Muffler Men. Since then, it's been sitting here defending Grants Pass, and it's a fun little roadside stop. Sorry, I like to show more road shots when I'm driving, but it's just been pouring rain the entire time, so there hasn't been much to see. But it's basically been a 2-lane road on each side, through mountains and valleys. It's a nice drive, especially when it clears up. On to the next spot. As we left Grants Pass, the rain stopped and gave us some nice views of the surrounding mountains. We continued for another 25 minutes until we made it to the city of Medford. We're here in Medford at Puck's Donuts, which used to be a donut shop and then had this kind of roadside attraction of these big donuts outside. The donut shop burned down. It looks like maybe they're moving the donuts. But in Medford, if you're here, you can go to Rogue Creamery, which is an awesome cheese spot with some of the best blue cheese I've ever had. Here's some clips of that. Rogue Creamery began in 1933, but it didn't start winning awards until the early 2000s. Since then, the Rogue River Blue has won dozens of awards, even becoming the first American cheese to be named world champion at the World Cheese Awards in Italy. Or you can head on to Crater Lake. It's snowing right now and they had 25 inches of snow over the last 2 days, so they shut the road down for a few days, which is why we can't go there. But if you come in the winter, it's generally open and this is a great jumping off point for Crater Lake. For us though, we're just heading on to Shasta, which is going to be our end point for tonight.
I'd also like to comment about the creamery too. That creamery is amazing. That blue cheese, especially the one that's won all the awards, best thing I've ever had as far as cheese goes. So you gotta stop. Don't pay attention to the price. Just buy some now.
Pops ate like $30 of cheese last time we were there.
Easily.
All right, heading onward. After leaving Medford, we stayed off the 5 for a little bit and we headed to the town of Ashland, Oregon. This is the historic Ashland town and it's actually a really cool place for Christmas. So if you're driving the route in Christmas, definitely come here. Also, they have a famous and supposedly healing water that you can drink from if you're interested. It is right here in the downtown area. The water is supposedly bubbling and they tell you not to drink from it, but a lot of people like drinking from it. That being said, it is not currently on. I'm guessing that's a COVID thing. Looks like you can maybe get some right here though. Not gonna chest that. After checking out the fountain, I walked around the downtown area for about 15 minutes. Everything was closing as we got there pretty late, but it was an incredible area and I made a mental note to come back here for Christmas. It felt like one of those Disney movies where the heroes arrive at some magical Christmas town. We made it back home to California. From the California-Oregon border, we drove as fast as we could to get to our dinner spot and to end our long travel day. We have made it to our dinner spot in Dunsmuir, Yaks. There's a lot of snow here as well. If you've seen any of my videos from Northern California, then you know Yaks is always a go-to spot for me when I'm in the area. The burger options are really pink, no pink, or hockey puck. Whatever you do, make sure you also get a cinnamon roll. You can thank me later. So they give us these tags, and then our tag says, adorable.
It works.
That's what they're gonna call out for our food. So for everyone who complains about the food we turn away now. Oh man. This is like a pecan bacon gorgonzola burger, and what did you get?
This is a gorgonzola burger.
You got a gorgonzola too?
Yeah.
Go big at Yaks, and then they have lavender ketchup. This is Pop's first Yaks experience. I've been here like 10 times over the years.
Oh, that's outstanding. Onions are crispy, fried onions and the gorgonzola. Very nice.
Pops approves. After 6.5 hours of driving and some good burgers, that is the end of our first day on Highway 5. Woke up in the city of Mount Shasta to a very snowy morning, but it's sunny, so maybe we'll be able to see the mountain today, which would be over here. While there are a couple good places to eat in Shasta, we decided to go to Yaks Shack since we had been to the other Yaks for dinner the previous night. Got our breakfast of everything bagels, and look, this place even has cup holders for us. Nice and snowy in Mount Shasta. It's beautiful though. After a quick breakfast, we hit the road for a long day of driving and started with our first stop in Mount Shasta. This is our first stop today. We are heading out to the headwaters of the Sacramento River, which is back that way. And then we're starting to drive south. We have officially made it to the beginning of the Sacramento River. Right here. So here's where we are, right here. And as it goes down into Shasta Lake, into Redding, flows all the way down into Sacramento and out towards the ocean. But there's so many different waterways that all lead into it to create the river, but it's pretty cool to be at the starting point. One of the plaques had a quote from John Muir about the Sacramento River, and it said, "It is lined with emerald algae and mosses and shaded with alder, willow, and thorn bushes which give it a fine setting. Its waters, apparently unaffected by flood or drought, heat or cold, fall at once into the white rapids with a rush and a dash, as if glad to escape the darkness to begin their wild course down the canyon to the plain." Leaving the headwaters behind, and we are going into Dunsmuir to do a waterfall hike before continuing on. There's Mount Shasta right there. It is pretty much in the clouds today, but you can see a little bit of it. We're about to head south. If you're interested in what it's like to climb Mount Shasta though, click the link in the description for when Amy and I climbed it. Mount Shasta is about 15 minutes from Dunsmuir, which is where we had dinner the previous night and which is home to Hedge Creek Falls. Pops is geared up with his knee brace and his stick, and we are heading out on a snowy hike to Hedge Creek Falls. I've hiked Hedge Creek Falls countless times, as it's a nice 10-minute walk downhill to get to the waterfall. That being said, you don't want to do it in the winter without traction devices. There's the top of Hedge Creek Falls right there. It's a very slippery trail, so Pops is staying up here, which is good.
Too early in the morning, it's kind of melted a bit.
While the trail to the waterfall is short, there are a bunch of switchbacks that lead you down to it. That's why it's a little dicey in the snow, as it's steep going down and going back up. Once you make it to the bottom, it's a beautiful 35-foot tall waterfall. One of the coolest things about this waterfall is that you can actually walk behind it. As far as I'm aware, there's not a lot of waterfalls in California that you can walk behind, so it's pretty special to be able to walk behind this one with such a short little hike. Plus, I've never really been here when there's a lot of people on this trail, so it always feels kind of secluded. After soaking it in from both sides, I began the icy walk back up to the car. Don't fall right at the very end where you can see the parking lot. The drive from Hedge Creek Falls to Redding is about an hour, and it's one of the most beautiful sections of this entire route. The weather was a little crazy for us, but along the way you can see Shasta Lake, the Castle Crags area, tons of beautiful mountains, canyons, and rivers. About to go over the bridge for Shasta Lake. Coming up right here. This is the Pitt River Bridge, which is actually a double-decker bridge with the road on the top and a train track on the bottom. It's crazy to see how low Shasta Lake is out there. Hopefully we get some good rain soon. I've driven through this area many times and I've never seen the lake this low myself. Let me know if you have in the comments. After getting back on the I-5, I was planning on just heading south to Redding, but I had never seen the Shasta Dam before, so I decided to get off and see that. The drive is about 15 minutes off the freeway, and it takes you through the city of Shasta Lake to the Shasta Dam Visitor Center. Shasta Dam Visitor Center is a great spot to learn more about the area's history and how the dam was constructed. Construction for it began in 1937 and it completed in 1945. It sits at over 600 feet tall and it's the 8th tallest dam in the United States. Check out this fish this guy caught in Shasta Lake. A legit river monster, 8 feet long. One side of the visitor center has old photos of the construction, while the other has a wall of windows showing great views of the dam. Overall, it's a pretty great spot for a quick stop. As you're driving back to Highway 5, go past the dam and the visitor center to this pull-off right here. You can get an amazing view of the dam and the lake, and then Mount Shasta if it's clear. So there's the dam and the lake, and then Shasta is actually right here. You can see it going up into the clouds, but it's covered today. I never even knew this viewpoint existed. The lady in the visitor center told us it's a great spot to see the three Shastas, which is the lake, the dam, and the mountain. From there was a 15-minute drive into the city of Redding and one of the coolest bridges in California. If you follow the website, then you know I love bridges, and this is one of my favorite in California. Look at how cool that bridge is. That spire over there is like 215 feet tall, something like that. It never touches the water. Like many spots on this road trip, my dad had never been to the Sundial Bridge in Redding, and that's why I really wanted to show it to him. See, this thing is pretty tall. So if the sun was out, and then all along this back area, it tells you what time it is. Believe it or not, this bridge is actually a working sundial, and the 217-foot spire at the end is what shines the shadow down onto the ground to tell the time. The bridge actually never touches the water, which was a design element to protect the salmon breeding ground that's right underneath where the bridge is. Overall, it's just a really cool free spot to explore on your I-5 road trip. Pop's first experience of the Sundial Bridge, what do you think?
It's really interesting. You don't realize when you look at it from this angle that how curved it is. But then, you put anything over top of this incredible river, it'll be beautiful.
Also, right next to the bridge is a museum, which is great for families if you're traveling up here. Here's some clips from on the way up when we went with the twins. If you're traveling I-5 with a family, then you know how important fun stops are. We took our 1.5-year-old twins here on the way up, and everyone had a blast just exploring the museum, which is very interactive and even has a small little aquarium. After our intense dinner the previous night, we decided to try to find something healthy for lunch. Check it out, guys. We are getting healthy with the ahi bowl right now.
This is salad. There's jalapenos on it.
Don't mind the cookie and pie that's behind it.
Where did these come from?
We're leaving Redding and we are starting the drive to Sacramento, which is about 2.5 hours, so probably not much stopping between now and then. The drive from Redding to Sacramento is flat and long. I basically only stopped twice in this part of the drive, Dutch Brothers and the Olive Pit. The Olive Pit is this roadside shop in Corning, which has been here since 1967. Inside it has hundreds of different types of green olives, lots of different olive oils, nuts, snacks, all of those kind of things. I basically always stop here to pick something up to eat on the way home. There's also a cafe attached to the store if you want to grab a sandwich. I've been stopping at the Olive Pit for like 10 years now and I always get raspberry honey almonds. We are heading on to Sacramento. After leaving Corning, it's about 2 hours to get to Sacramento. I have an entire list of things to do in Sacramento on my channel, so check that out if you're looking for stops, but I did want to bring up 2 specific ones which are great for a road trip. First up, stop to see Old Sacramento and the Tower Bridge. There's parking right next to the bridge, and this bridge was built in 1935. It was originally a steel aluminum color until people complained about the glare, and then in the 1970s it was painted yellow. We made it to the capital of California, Sacramento, and we're in Old Sacramento area, the Tower Bridge, and some cool historic stuff you can do. Old Sacramento is probably the main tourist attraction in the city. It's basically preserved history, as much of the city was built up around the waterway that transported goods and people down to the coast of California. Today you can still walk the historic streets, see some of the old buildings, go into the shops, and even grab a bite to eat. If you're here during Christmas, you definitely need to go to the Theater of Lights. It happens right here, and it is really fun to see. If you have more time, check out the Train Museum, which is one of my favorite museums in California, but we didn't have time for it on this road trip. From Old Sacramento, it's on to our second recommendation in the city, which is the California State Capitol. This is the second easy road trip stop in Sacramento. You can grab parking and explore the Capitol grounds where they have all these beautiful trees and gardens and everything. Plus you can go inside of the Capitol building if you're here on a weekday. They even have redwood trees here that you can see. Even if it's a weekend when you drive through and you can't go inside the Capitol, it's worth stopping just to see Capitol Park. The park is over 10 acres featuring memorials and gardens that you can stroll through, spotlighting some of California's most diverse plants. It's kind of cool. We're traveling during Christmas time, so you get to see everything that's set up for Christmas. There's a tree and then there's some wreaths. I'd never been to Sacramento during the Christmas season, but after seeing Theater of Lights and some of the decorations, I'll have to come up here again. If you're there on a weekday when the Capitol's open, then be sure to peek your head inside. It doesn't cost anything to visit, and the interior is absolutely stunning. There's so many beautiful places to explore and so much history that you can learn while you're here. I've been many times, but I always enjoy being able to go back again. It was fun to see the state capitol after seeing the Oregon one. Now we're heading south. We got about a 2-hour drive to where we're staying tonight. What a good road trip partner, grabbing coffee while I'm exploring. Well done.
The kind of guy I am.
If you're looking for one, Temple Coffee is a great spot in downtown Sacramento. For us, it was 3 hours south to Harris Ranch Inn. I didn't really have any reason for staying at the Harris Ranch Inn other than that I'd driven past it like 100 times going up the I-5, and I always thought it would be cool to stay at this historic spot and to try the steakhouse. The hotel is really not that old as it was built in the 80s, but the restaurant was built in the 70s and it's one of the busiest restaurants in the state of California. When we checked in, they gave us some peanut butter cookies. This room has one lazy boy recliner. I guess I'm gonna be fighting. Oh no, Pop's already got it. Not getting up the whole rest of the time we're here.
You can sit somewhere else.
Pops was reading that the Harris Ranch restaurant has sold almost the most amount of meals as any restaurant in California. So when we stayed here, we thought we had to go get a steak over there. So that is the last thing that we were doing today. I also read that one of the hotel highlights here is the pool. We didn't get a chance to take advantage of that, but it was massive and it looked pretty nice. If you're wanting to visit the restaurant, it's best to get reservations in advance, especially if you're coming on a busy holiday weekend. We got lucky because it was a few weeks before Christmas and it was in the middle of the week, so we just walked in, waited about 20 minutes, and were able to get a spot. While you're waiting, there's a really eclectic store that's pretty fun to walk around right next to the restaurant.
The one thing you need to buy when you're here is
Pops.
I've never had it.
I'm sure you probably already know this, but if you're going to the restaurant, plan for a more pricey meal. That being said, my dad and I were both not let down. Pops went big with a slab of prime rib, au jus, and horseradish. Getting that steak action right there.
How about the horseradish sauce? Yeah, it's all wonderful.
Yeah?
Delicious.
You wanted a steak and you got a steak.
Right, big.
I got the whiskey smoked salt and brown butter rubbed ribeye. I only eat steak a couple times a year, but I have to say it was one of the best steaks I'd ever had. We just finished our meal at the steakhouse. That place was pricey, but it was incredible.
Outstanding.
Pops took me out because of my graduation, so it was pretty fun to have a good meal. Plus, this place has been really cool to explore for Christmas. There's Christmas decorations.
It's amazing how
everywhere.
much Christmas in there.
Yeah. That's the end of our second day on the I-5. Starting day 3 on the I-5 road trip, today we're heading to Los Angeles, only about 3.5 hours of driving, and finishing our trip. Since we had already had a pretty long 2 days, we kept the third day relatively short with only a half day of driving to get back to Los Angeles. Plus, there's not a lot to see between here and Los Angeles, so just a couple stops for you today. Our first stop brought us to Kettleman City and Bravo Farms. Bravo Farms is the perfect stop along an I-5 road trip featuring everything you could possibly want. They have a shooting gallery, some arcade games, a restaurant, an ice cream shop, a place for kids to play, and of course, a lot of shopping. One of the highlights is seeing the massive cutout of a redwood tree. In its rings, it shows you how old it was when different things in the world happened. Plus, the outside area is amazing on both sides. One side has an area where you can let your dog go to the bathroom, and the other side has an area with tons of different things that children can climb and play on. Bravo Farms is an amazing roadside attraction. There's so much to do. There's shopping, there's things for kids to do, there's food. Definitely a good stop on I-5. Heading south again, it was a bleak drive on the I-5. We were listening to Project Hail Mary on audiobook, which was an awesome read by the way, and which made the boring sections of the drive go a lot quicker. If you've driven the I-5, I'm sure you've seen the sign for the Tule Elk State Reserve. I've stopped here many times and never seen an elk, but I decided I might as well stop again this trip. I'm so glad I did, as it ended up being an incredible experience. This state park protects a small herd of Tule elk. These animals were once prevalent in this area in the early 1900s, but hunting brought them almost to extinction. It wasn't until the late 1800s till efforts began to preserve the Tule elk. This park was created in 1932 and has been giving protection to the Tule elk and allowing them to grow and repopulate. If you want to see the elk, one of the best ways to do that is via the auto safari. According to the park's website, on the fourth Saturday of every month, they have a docent-led auto tour that takes you through the preserve. Be sure to double check the site before you go in case it changes though. This is the Tule Elk State Reserve. It's right off I-5. I've been here many times, never seen the animals. We got lucky today. It looks like they're feeding them. So note that it's pretty cool if you come here and you can see the animals, but a lot of times you can't. After leaving the reserve, we drove up through the Grapevine for our second to last stop at Fort Tejon State Historic Park. I ran out of SD card space, so I can't use my camera, so I'm using my phone for the rest of this video, but we are at Fort Tejon State Historic Park to explore a little bit before heading on. Fort Tejon is a really interesting place to explore as it was an army outpost that was active in the 1800s. Today you can still see the original barracks and walk inside to see how the soldiers lived when they were stationed here. I like coming here as it's a relaxing place to explore that never seems too busy, and I've even seen deer on multiple occasions. If you're into the area's history, then this is definitely a good spot to stop at. Plus it's fun for the kids to run around as well, as it's big, open area with some picnic benches and things to see. Onward. Our last stop on this road trip before we got to Los Angeles brought us to Pyramid Lake. Here you can visit the Vista del Lago Visitor Center, which is run by the California Department of Water Resources. I had no idea what to expect when I visited here, but it came recommended by a couple people, so I figured it'd be fun to stop by. Honestly, it's a really cool visitor center and definitely worth checking out if you have a family especially. It talks all about water, specifically dealing with the water in California, and talks about how it's collected, maintained, purified, all of those things. The center is pretty interactive as well, with some fun things that kids can do, such as weighing yourself to see how much water you have in your body. Also, in the back area, there's an observation deck that looks out over Pyramid Lake and is a pretty great view. We're about 45 minutes from Los Angeles, so that's the end of our I-5 road trip. Hopefully you enjoyed coming along with us and you found some new spots to explore. If you want to find some places to see in Los Angeles, click in the upper corner.
And we will see you on the next video.